Hey everyone, welcome back to the Unspoken Essentials podcast. I am your host, Alcharles and today I'm talking with Shanon Choi. She is an A&R at Pulse Music Group, and in this episode we cover topics about why communication is an important skill to master, what a college education can and can't do for those aspiring to work in the music industry, when to start a new journey, and internship opportunities for listeners of this show who want to work in the music industry. Without further ado, enjoy this episode. I want to welcome Shannon onto the Unspoken Essentials podcast today. I appreciate you sharing your time with us.
Hey, yeah, no problem.
Awesome. That was perfect.
Great.
We're going to start off by asking you the important question that I ask all my guests, just to break the ice a little bit and get your headspace, in a place of welcome, I guess. What did you have for breakfast today, if you don't mind me asking?
Oh, oh God. I had I had a banana with chunky peanut butter because peanut butter is my favorite food. Is it like a food item or
I
spread?
guess it's kind of a spread. What kind of what brand are you though? I know there's a couple brands out there.
No, I'm not very picky or precious about brands necessarily. So honestly, like you just put chunky peanut butter in front of me, I'm all good.
And so with a banana, how does that work? Like, do you put it on bread, or do you just actually just like put the?
No, I just straight up put it on the banana and
I
then
have
I
to
just
try
eat the
that.
banana.
I have to. I've done like peanut butter and banana sandwiches before.
Yeah.
But I've never done it just straight out. That's sick. That's.
It's because no, it's just because like well, first off, I'm super lazy. So everything, well, I love to cook and I love to bake for other people. So when I cook and bake for other people, it's gonna be like top tier, A level, like I'm whipping out the New York Times cooking recipes and like, I just made pork chile verde over the weekend for like, braising that for like 3 hours and like
Jesus.
yeah, it's just I go hard for the people that I care about when I cook.
I
But
love
then when
that.
it's for me, like if it's like 2 ingredients or less or three
Yeah, if you
ingredients or
can whip it
less,
up in like 5 minutes
like
or less and out the
and
door.
also yes, and it has to be practical. So
I
the
see that. Yeah,
brand,
I see what you mean now, because if you have a bread or toast and you have to fold it or have it some mobile type of way with just a banana and
yeah,
peanut butter, you're good to go. I like
yeah,
that.
because it's also just you know it's the taste. I feel like the bread is just kind of like a vehicle for the bananas and the peanut butter. But if I just take that out of the equation, then you're actually getting the real thing, which is the banana and the peanut butter.
I love that. I love that. I had flame broiler. Yeah, that's all. Yeah,
Nice. I love flame broiler
it's
for
really
sure.
good and it's actually really healthy. Oddly enough.
Yeah.
Yeah. So chicken and rice and some veggies.
Oh God, it sounds so good. It's
Um,
so simple, which is the
yeah,
best.
I feel that. I mean, honestly, I like to cook too. Oddly enough, since we're on this topic,
Mm.
my wife actually gave me a book, like a tasty book, like a cookbook, and I
Oh yeah.
have it. I feel so bad because she always tells me, she's like, I bought you that book. If you don't use it, I'm gonna gift it away. And I'm like, well, no,
Oh
like I'm gonna get
no.
there eventually. Okay, eventually. Just it's because with this heat in Los
Oh yeah,
Angeles,
that
it
too.
is not where it's
Hot.
at.
It's like 106 today or something like that.
Yeah, wasn't it? I think the highest I think was 2 days ago. Wasn't it like 112?
Whoa.
Yeah,
Was it? I mean, I wouldn't be surprised. It was deathly hot outside.
yeah, it's scary hot. I don't know how people. I mean, I feel bad for like anyone living that's homeless or anything like that. But
Oh my God, I know.
yeah. On a lighter note, I actually wanted, if you're okay with introducing yourself to the people of we're over here having a conversation about peanut butter and banana, and I love it. Just so people know your background a little bit, and of course we'll get
Yeah.
into it as well. But if you want to just talk about yourself.
Yeah. God. My name is Shannon Choi. I currently work at Pulse Music Group, which is a dope publishing company. So I work mostly with songwriters and producers, and then also artists as well. Um, yeah, so I work on the creative team there, do some A&R work, which is just a fancy term for I listen to music and I matchmake songwriters and producers to go into a room together to work and create a song. So I work closely on the composition side of things. And then specifically at Pulse, we're just very hands-on with the creative. So, like, for example, today I just listened to a bunch of pop records so I can pitch it out to this one artist that's looking. Um, and yeah, I
That's
went to school.
that's perfect. You're doing great. I honestly didn't.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's you're amazing. I mean, your title is what I want people to also hear about as well. But you as an individual and what you add to Pulse is important. You know what I mean? Like what you do
Oh, thanks.
is really good because we'll talk about. I'm excited to get to the resources that you're here to offer. Oh my god.
Oh my goodness, yeah. Like praying right now that I have enough to give.
You're
but
good.
yeah.
That's where you studied. That was actually one of my questions is what did you, if you don't mind me asking, where and what did you study in college? Because
okay,
yeah, I feel like a lot of people don't, just in general, people don't know that A&R is actually like a profession in the music industry. But aside from that, it's just like, how do you prepare yourself? Like in what like form of education or higher education do you have to take to actually get to working and connecting with different songwriters, singers, and you know what I mean?
Yes. So I will say flat out first, you don't really need a special education. It helps. I will say that. Like there's an advantage to going to school in music business, but there's not a lot of schools that have that as a minor or a major. So I went to Cal State Long Beach and I studied communication studies and had a minor in marketing because I thought I was going to be working in advertising, which jokes on my past self. I'm not in advertising. I definitely learned about the music industry pretty late in the game. I'd say I was probably a freshman in college. And then I graduated in 3 years. So basically,
wait, whoa, 3?
Yeah, but that's just because of all these AP credits that I had in high school.
Okay.
But yeah, so I basically learned like when I was like a sophomore in college, like what the music industry meant and that you could actually make it into a profession when you have no musical talent.
I like that.
Like I can't really sing or play an instrument. I was like forced to play the piano when I was younger, but that definitely did not stick as well. So yeah, I learned, you could just be a listener and just be really passionate about the music and um, yeah, pretty much believe and be fans of all these people and work very closely and be kind of in the process. I mean, that's also just one small part of it. It's very vast, so there's a bunch of different pockets that you could be passionate about as well. But yeah, I feel like I didn't really, I got into it pretty late and there was no music industry minor and major at my school at Long Beach. So yeah, I feel like it does give you a leg up in the sense of the resources and the connections that you can make with your peers and also your professors if you went to like Syracuse or like USC or and I think UCLA has like a small extension for music business. There's a little bit of a leg up there, but if you just really go for it and if you're really like desperate and hungry for it, you can always make it work.
Yeah, I agree. Oddly enough, the way we connected, is it okay if we talk about
oh yeah,
how we okay, cool. So I actually know Shannon from what was it, a release for a new single for Common Souls?
Yes.
Yeah, that's all. How long has it been? Maybe a year or two?
No, dude, it's been like 3
No
or
way.
maybe 2. No, maybe 2.
2? Okay, because I was still super. I mean, I'm still young now, but I was really young. It was back when I was doing my music review page. I still have it. It's still there if you guys want to check it out. But I was very yeah, tasteful sounds. Yeah, I'm very anything I do, I get really ambitious with it. So I saw that they posted, and I was like, you know what? That's oddly enough the only way I found out about Ryan, and I forget his name. What's the other half of Common Souls?
Nick.
I only heard about Ryan and Nick through my wife. She showed me. Shout out to Aurelie. She showed me Arizona, and it was one of her favorite songs of all time, dude. Like she's anytime I had her in my car when we were like still like not living together, she always played that song.
Mm.
And I was like, all right, cool. Like I'm gonna talk about it on my music review page just because I think it deserves it. It was really good. And oddly enough, I don't know if it was them or you or someone liked my post, and I was like, ooh, I have to show her. So I go and show her. She gets so excited and she's just happy about that. But then I hear about the event or like the little shindig that's happening, and I was like, you know what? At first I was like, I'm not gonna ask. I'm not gonna ask to go or anything like that because they're gonna say no or it might be just too private and all this. And I was like, all right, cool.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, I had told myself no before I even like wrote anything out, like DM'd her. Yeah, it was really bad, mentally wise. Like at that moment, I just doubted myself a lot. Now, I'd probably I'd take like 5 of those chances, but back then, it's just experiences. So I took the shot, and they responded. I got the address, and I was like, oh, we're on our rate. And I told I asked, of course, if it was okay if she came along, and she was so excited. And just oddly enough, I knew I wanted to do something where I'm able to connect people with, like, whether it's like a fan with their favorite artist or a student finding their actual like career that they want to find success in, and when my now wife, back then girlfriend, shook hands with Ryan, even gave hugs, and I just seen her eyes light up, and I was just like, I wanted to cry, but then I was like, you know what, no, it's a good moment, why am I crying?
Oh my gosh.
So it was a really great night. And then we met when I was trying to get tacos, and I think you knew me by Tasteful Sounds. I don't know how.
You did.
I was really surprised. I was like, I was like, ooh, I'm important. I was like, I have something, So when you said that, and you were very sweet, you were very kind, you give me hope for the music industry, oddly enough, because there are a lot of people out there that are very manipulative, unfortunately, and that, just there's a lot of bad parts to the music industry, of course, and any business, like it's just the way it is. But you truly like treated us like we were top tier, even though I probably had like 100 followers, and I appreciate that. But yeah, it's awesome how it comes full circle, because for you, like I was studying psychology at the time. Like I didn't, the music thing was kind of like a Finsta or whatever people were calling it, like just your spam account. Yeah, and they connected me to you, and now we're 3 years later talking on a podcast. That's awesome.
I know, that's so wild. Yeah, of course. I mean, wow, I didn't even. You only had 100 followers?
I think
That's
so.
crazy. I feel like, oh my gosh. Well, I was like really, I mean, I was super grateful. I was honored to be there. I was like, I can't believe you want to like come and cover this and like hang out. I mean, it meant a lot. So,
my
yeah.
God, I'm gonna cry because it's just it. I guess you don't know how big or monumental you are until like someone kind of validates it. Oddly enough, which kind of is weird, but in a good way.
Yeah.
Like you saying that now, it's like, whoa, like perspective is a really big thing for me, and that just like it threw me back for a loop.
Yeah, I loved what you were doing, and you really had like an ear to the ground on all the things that you were like listening to. So, I mean, first and foremost, I just was like, yeah, this guy really knows what he's like what's up and like what's really good. So I was just like, wow, it's crazy that he like knew about Common Souls too. So, yeah.
Oh yeah, they're amazing.
Likewise.
Even their new band, they're
Monica?
Yeah.
Or Boy Life?
Oh, I think Monica.
Yeah, that's the 5-piece band.
Yeah, that's the one that they performed at that music video / reveal, and they were really great. I was shocked, honestly. I didn't know what to expect, and I was really excited either way. And then once I seen that they had different ideas and different projects coming along, I was very excited.
Yeah.
But with the start of like the podcast, I haven't been able to delve too much into the music scene as much. So oddly, it's kind of refreshing, because before I'd have three projects to review every week, and like just I'd give myself 1 week to listen to all 3, and then I felt at one point like it was just too much, because I couldn't, if I loved one album like a lot, I couldn't stay on it, oddly enough.
Yeah.
Like because then I'd get so used to that specific sound or that specific style of music, and then when I have to review something completely different, I'd just not like it because I was already stuck on a certain project for X amount of time.
Right.
But I feel like how you said, I actually had someone, I think 2 episodes ago from this episode. She was in the music industry as well. She was interning for a really large artist, and she was actually a close friend with Injury Reserve. And she's told me about how it works for the most part. And she talked a little bit about her songwriting and the idea of like, I wanted to get your perspective on it. That the whole, you have to have, I think, 10,000 hours to be an expert or professional at something. Have you heard about that?
Right.
Yeah, and she told me, she's like, well, they can't like, she was talking about the industry, of course, but she was like, they can't tell us that we don't know what we're talking about music wise, because we've listened to music for so long, and it's been in our lives for so long, both therapeutically and just as like active listeners. And it really empowered me to, I was like, I want to start my music page again, but I know if I just do that and do this and school and work, it's just too much. You know what I mean?
Right.
With that being said, I went off on a little tangent. I apologize. See, I told you you'd be fine. You'll be okay.
No, you're totally good.
The one thing that really stuck out to me was that you moved to LA right after, or was it right after college, or was it like a year or two?
I think it was like a year, close to a year, after I graduated.
Okay. And then you graduated with your communications and marketing as well, correct?
Yep.
That goes like hand in hand, right? Like that's just,
Yeah, that's like the perfect advertising combination right there.
yeah, I see that. I think just in general, because you, oddly enough, when I speak to you and when we conversate, you don't have a lot to say, but whatever you do say is very important, if that makes sense.
Oh, wow.
You know what I mean? So that the communication comes in clean, because you communicate effectively, which works really well, and just like an all-around skill. I feel like a lot of people need that. But with like communicating effectively and like, taking that leap, how do you think any of those skills that you learned in college came in when you were like trying to cold call labels and stuff?
No, not at all. I feel like, yeah, honestly, I feel like communication studies is really just like for yourself. And I think that's actually really important because you'll take these classes that really have to do with real life experience. So I took like a negotiations class and an interpersonal relationships class. And obviously those are things that I deal with on the daily as a person. And I think a lot of the times, and the rhetoric classes were so much fun. I feel like in a whole other life, I think I'd be like a rhetoric professor or rhetorician or whatever. Anyways, that's a tangent.
You're good.
But like with that as well, I feel like, yeah, I feel like every time you leave the class, you're like always just self-reflecting and really thinking about, like how you communicate, and there's a lot of psychology involved. So I don't really know. I don't know if that directly translates into like music specifically, but I think it helped me understand myself more, which I think is very valuable and very important for anyone or any human being to do. So I will say that.
Yeah, I agree. I've just through this podcast alone and talking to different people, different ages, different careers, it's a lot of self-reflecting for the most part, like you just kind of have to figure out yourself and what you want to do and just work your butt off to just get there,
Yeah.
Because what you told me, the story about calling the music labels, and how many did you call, if you don't mind me asking?
Oh, I only well, I stopped at Pulse, so I was only calling publishing companies because should I talk about like the context of it?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay.
Yeah, no, you're good. Go.
Okay, so basically, yeah, so we talked about this before. So in order for me to move out of LA, or I was job hunting because post-grad can be very daunting, and finding jobs can be very difficult for some people. So I really feel for all the people that are out job hunting right now, especially in quarantine. I know it's really difficult, and right now it just looks really uncertain, but I encourage you to just keep going and keep pushing. And, it's okay to take a break from it sometimes too, because societal pressures suck, and don't compare yourself to your friends. Anyways, so yeah, I was kind of in that weird headspace of trying to find a job after college. And yeah, so I kept going to interviews and like applying to career pages and like kept on like hitting up people that I knew from my internship and just like being really proactive in that way. But sometimes like you always hit a wall. And my goal was, or my mindset, I should say, was apply to 100 jobs and only get one interview. And so I was like, keep going, keep going, keep going. I can't complain until I hit 100 applications. Um, and then, yeah, so then I got extremely desperate and I was like, oh God, if I get directed to another careers page again, it's just not going to work out. I'm just going to throw out the idea out the window. And so I was starting to get into this space where I was like, I just need to be more desperate. So I shifted goals, and my goal was first to get a job so that way I can move out. But then I was like, no, I'm just going to reverse this and I'm going to say I'm going to move out first and then find a job, because that just instantly put a giant fire under my butt and was just like, I can't move out without a job. So it just kind of like ignited me even more to go out and find a job. So
I
I
feel
was
like
like,
you have to be like really headstrong. Sorry, but like you have to be really strong to do that because, I don't know. Like that's just I'm proud of where you are because of that story, because it's really impressive, and I know it's only halfway, but yeah, I just want to get that out there. That's awesome.
oh, thanks.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
will say though, I did like have like a mentor who was like a really close friend of mine who pretty much, I feel like he like almost trained me or like would say these things and like help me out to get into this mindset, which I later learned like knowing your background, growing up as, an Asian American woman, um, and not really having, models of like strong females in the music business and also someone who looks like me is very hard to come by. So I will say this, if this helps anyone, that you can do it and that it's totally possible. And it took me a long time to actually realize that. And so things kind of start falling into place once you have that freedom where it's like you literally can do whatever you want in your life. And just like go for it. So I finally got into that mindset. So that is definitely something. So thank you for saying that, but that is definitely something that I was not, or I don't think I was born with, or that I was nurtured to believe. But yeah, that's definitely something that I had to work on. But yeah, so
That's awesome.
so that came into play. Um, what was that? Oh yeah, so basically what you were saying before was I was like, I'm so super desperate. I just need to talk to someone. I don't want to just apply online and have no one hear my voice. So I just decided to cold call a list of publishing companies, and ask if they were hiring for an assistant position, an admin assistant position, just because I feel like that's the easiest way to get in to the building. And so I made a list of maybe, the list went on. It kept growing as I kept crossing things off. But I think I landed on Pulse. Well, we all know where I ended up. So I think I landed on Pulse, maybe like the fifth or sixth call that I had. But yeah, all the other calls before, I'd be like, hi, are you looking for an admin, or is there an admin assistant position opening up soon, or is there one available right now? And then they were all just like, well, some of them said no. Well, the smaller companies said no because, they just know right off the bat who's in and who's out and who's working, who's not. And then the bigger companies obviously were just like, oh yeah, if you want to take a look at our careers page, you can apply through there, like submit your resume and cover letter and all these things. And I was like, oh great, thank you so much. And before I hung up the phone, I already crossed their name off.
Yeah.
Because I was like, I just can't do that again. And so on the fifth or sixth call, I landed on Pulse. And shout out to my coworker now, LB, Lauren Bowden. She picked up the phone because she was receptionist at the time. And I was like, hi, I asked her the same question. Do you have any admin assistant positions opening up? And then she paused and she said, yeah, we do. And I was like, great. And so she talked to me about the position. And so I sent her my resume that day. And then the next day I went in for an interview. And then the interview didn't, or it just didn't seem like it went well, just because the person who interviewed me at the time basically was speaking 90% of the time and I only spoke 10%. And so I was like, oh my God, like I feel like I should have spoken more or something like that. So I left and went out the room and was like, okay, I'm just gonna take that with a grain of salt and we'll just see. And then yeah, I got a call that night saying I needed or that if I was down for it, I could come in the next day for training for a month, and then the month after that, when that's over, they'd officially, you know, if it was a good fit, then they would officially offer me the job. She was like, yes. And so I came in the next day. So basically, it happened within 3 days. Um, the timing was correct. And then my coworker, LB, who picked up the phone, told me that that position, the receptionist position, opened up that morning. So timing was on my side with this
Definitely.
one. And so that's how I ended up at Pulse. So I started out as a receptionist, and then the way that Pulse works is when someone lands up into the receptionist position, it's pretty much assumed that you're going to be going up to the creative team as an A&R. So that the receptionist position is always very temporary. Um, and so yeah, that's what happened. Stayed there for a bit, did my time, and then I moved up to A&R, and then I started coordinating for Ashley Calhoun on the hip hop and R&B side of things at Pulse, which is great because that's like my bread and butter in terms of genres that I love. I mean, I love all music, but I will say I grew up listening to mostly hip hop and R&B. So everything kind of just like fell into place with timing, which, you know, very lucky to be here.
Yeah, that's awesome. I think another big thing, and oddly enough, it weirds me out when things connect for me. But remember how I said like you say what you need to say, very concise. I don't know if it's your communication or just in general as who you are as an individual. But like you said, the 90% of the interview was the other person talking, and 10% was you. But the 10% must have been so concise and so like confidently spoken to the point where they were impressed enough to be like, hey, let's give her a shot, like.
Oh goodness.
That's why it's just like, that's
I can't
impressive.
even remember what I said. I feel like I just answered like the most basic questions. And then she just went and talked about the position. And I was like, oh God, this is going very poorly.
I think it was the idea of like, even though it's basic and you answered it like basically, as long as it was confidently, a lot of people would kind of doubt that. They think I have to come up with these stories. I have to be able to like, wow them with my credentials and all this stuff. And it's like that's cool. Most of the people do want that, but they're going to get that one person that just wants to have a conversation.
Yeah.
That literally just wants to interview you and ask you basic questions. And as long as you can answer them, they're cool.
Yeah. I feel like in those situations too, it's just be yourself. If you
Exactly.
have nothing really to say, then you don't have to say it. And that just kind of like speaks volumes to who you are as a person. So even helps you more in that way too.
I agree. I was actually gonna ask because you brought it up a little bit. Being an Asian American woman, what were your? Do you know? Have you got an insight or perspective as to how your family felt when you said that you wanted to move to Los Angeles to do like stuff in the music industry?
Yeah, so I am very blessed and extremely grateful to have my parents be my parents because they're very chill about a lot of things. So they were just very chill about me wanting to pursue music and also moving up to LA. Because my parents don't live too far out from LA, maybe like 20 to 30 miles south. So it's not really too far off. I'm still pretty close by, and we have like a really great relationship. They trust me a lot. So that was good. Yeah.
That's awesome. I'm glad you had the support because
Yeah, I
that's
got really
big.
lucky. Yeah.
Yeah, that's I'm so I'm happy for you. Um,
Thanks.
if you don't mind, can you? I mean, and so we're gonna do two types of things. Can you break
Okay.
down your day to day of being an A&R
Mhm.
now, and also before COVID hit?
Ooh, great question. Yeah, so I also manage the studios at Pulse.
Okay.
And then obviously during COVID, no one's really having sessions at our studios because it's part of our office and it's closed down. So, and it doesn't meet the requirements of the shutdown guidelines set by the state of California. So we haven't been operating the studios at all since COVID started. Um, and so that part has been really chill, which I'm just gonna say thank the Lord because I shout out to all the studio managers. It is extremely difficult to do that job just because like things will fall through. You always have to scramble to make things happen, and just making sure everyone's in the session, and scheduling kind of gets, if you make a mistake in the schedule, then and you two people show up for one room, it's like, oh my God. And then you really have to think on your feet. So there was a lot of anxiety that came with that pre-COVID. And I mean, yeah, it took a lot of my day. Sometimes it goes in waves. Um, but yeah, so now I don't have to deal with that too much anymore. Now we're, trying to think of where we're going to be, but it's hard to, figure out what that's going to look like. But yeah, so now that no one's having sessions in person, that changed a lot for me on the creative end of things. So as an A&R, making sure you are finding, or we're finding creative ways to have people work together. And it's this weird, like, counterintuitive thing where it's like, you think it's like difficult to connect with people, but since COVID has started and it's become very normal to just connect virtually, it's been a lot easier to reach people that are like in different countries and different time zones to link up when it's usually difficult, or like more, yeah, when it's harder to do that, and when you have the ability to meet people. I feel like a lot more people are inclined to hop on a Zoom real quick or just talk on the phone real quick about certain projects, when people would push for like an in-person meeting, and then it's hard to meet, and like that just takes a whole day. Like, let's say I'm going to the west side, and like it's just like a whole thing. So it's very interesting that like people are now willing to talk more, like, because you don't have to leave your room. You're just in
Yeah.
one place. It's easy to just click a button and just be like, hey, like, let's just talk about this. So that's definitely been in our benefit for sessions. And we always say, and in-person sessions can be really tricky, and we always say to our clients, like, you know no pressure to do an in-person session, because that could also mean like putting the lives of you and the people that you are with right now in danger. So like it's really just your personal preference. So that's why like I make it an effort to just kind of check in and do like temperature checks with certain people, just be like, hey, how are you feeling this week? Because again, like this is such a weird, uncertain time. And so as news comes out, we're all just like trying to figure out like what are our boundaries, and how we can just, make it work. And so that's definitely something that has changed a lot, but has also been in our favor in that way, where we can link people on Zooms with artists who are down. They have to be down. Most of them, it's a mixed bag. I feel like 50% are like, hell yes, let's do it. 50% are like, no, why would I pour out my soul into a song with someone with a computer? That's like very weird and awkward. Like
Yeah.
it's already awkward already that like strangers, like songwriters and producers and artists, will go into a room and have never met before, but they go into a room pouring out their souls to compose a song. Like that's already awkward, but to have to do that over the computer is already so weird. So I totally understand both sides of the coin. If someone's down to do, virtually, I'm like, oh great, like that's easy. If not, then like we can wait, and that's fine. Because everyone in the world is waiting right now, so it doesn't really
Yeah.
matter. There's no rush.
That's, I
Um,
mean, it's crazy because is there, do you think, I mean, it's all up to you. I mean, it's all your perspective, but do you think it would ever go back to normal? If that makes sense, if normal's even a thing, because if you think about it, like if artists or songwriters or producers or anyone is able to notice that, whoa, like I'm getting a check just to jump on a call and do it, at like distance, do you
yeah.
feel like it'll still be that whole, like those people that say yes, I want to jump on a call, would ever go back to being, or do you think or being like going into the studio, or do you think they'll charge more for just studio face-to-face time, and then if not, they'll
Mm,
just like, I'll charge you this rate for a video call, or I'll charge you this rate, which is a little bit more, but I'll be in person, you know what I mean?
mm. Um, I don't know. I feel as if honestly, I'm just like thinking like about when everything kind of settles down. I think people would be down. It'll be like a mix of certain things. I feel like it'll wear out maybe down the line, and just kind of like kind of revert back to what it was pre-COVID, but also like now we have the knowledge of knowing that it can work virtually. Um, so I don't know. I feel like it'll be a mix of it all, but definitely as people are itching to just see their friends, people are itching also to write music together. It's like the same thing. So, um, yeah, I feel like once everything settles down, people are gonna be like, yeah, let's do all in person.
That's dope.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah, but yeah, it just depends. Some people find it extremely efficient, especially like producer to producer, to just do it um virtually or just like catching a vibe first and then working separately on sending ideas back and forth. But yeah, we'll see. I definitely think it's going to be hard to adjust. Like there's going to be an influx of, you know, just being around a bunch of people all at the same time. Hopefully there won't be another spike. I mean, there probably will naturally, but yeah. So we'll just see how that turns out.
Yeah, I agree. If you don't mind me asking, and of course I don't like people having to name drop. Has there been anyone that you've been like super impressed to work with, or that you think that you'd never actually get in contact with while working at the publishing company that you're like, whoa, like that was cool, you know?
Yeah. I've definitely had moments where I was starstruck. Um, so we have James Blake on our roster, and so the first time I saw him in the parking lot, I wanted to just like sink into the floor and just melt into a puddle because I was
Yeah,
like,
I just had a
what
derp
the
face when
hell?
you said his name. Oh my god, that's crazy.
Yeah, so he's been so yeah, I'm the first time I saw him. Oh, well, no, actually, it's the first time he came into his signing party. I was like shaking. It was just so crazy. And then when I saw him, I remember this so vividly. I'll never forget it. He was in the parking lot pulling up. He got out of his car, and I was just like, I didn't see him, but I was just, okay, how do I describe this? I was leaving the front door, and then I see him in the parking lot, and I'm just like standing frozen in front of the front door, and then we like make eye contact, and then he just waves at me, and then I wave at him and I go hi, and then I just, yeah, and then I just went and left and did my thing and was just like, what the heck. So that was when I remember very vividly, and then also the first time that I saw Stara in person, I was like,
Wait, who?
Stara.
I have to listen to them. Are they big? Are they?
Oh my goodness. Yeah, she's probably the biggest writer ever. um, she's great. She's done like all, yeah, you should check out her stuff. I mean, she has her solo artist project, so you can listen to that there. And she had like a project with Diplo early on, but she's like one of the greatest songwriters probably in the last like 5 years, I should say. 5 years? Maybe that's not long. Past like few years. But yeah, she did like Needed Me by Rihanna, Fake Love, by Drake. She did Havana by Camila Cabello.
Oh,
Um,
so she's. Oh, Jesus. Yeah, I'm love. I just did a quick search because. Oh, okay. I should probably know her.
oh my God, no, it's definitely like if you don't work in publishing, I feel like not many people know her.
I mean, that's the beauty of songwriting, though, right? Like,
Yeah,
you get to enjoy your creations without people having to like go at you with cameras and just bombard you in person. You know, like that's just crazy.
right. Yeah. So yeah, that's like definitely a thing. There's a lot of like songwriters and producers that I know names of, and people are just like, who? And I'm like, oh my goodness. And then I have to like, drop all the names of all the projects and cuts that they've had, like the songs that they've worked on, and they're like, holy shit. And I'm like, yeah, it's crazy. So it's especially when you work in publishing, you have a different set of stars that you get starstruck over. But Star for sure is one. Um, who else? Kaylani, who we just signed. She came in for her
Kaylani,
signing. Yeah. She
my
came in for her
friend.
signing and I was like, what the fuck?
I have a friend named Damien. Shout out Damien. He is in like completely madly in love with Kaylani, both musically and just as a person. Like
Oh,
he's
the best.
is she short? I always wanted to know that. I always have a thing for like celebrities and knowing their height.
I don't think so. I feel like she's pretty like average. I mean, I'm pretty short, so everyone is pretty tall to me. Um, yeah, I don't know. I feel like she seems like her height in her photos.
Okay, I see that.
Yeah,
That's cool.
yeah,
I mean, that's crazy.
yeah.
Ugh.
That was another one where I was just like, what the heck?
Does
Um,
the feeling ever fade away? Like if you actually meet someone that you would never think that you'd meet, if that makes sense.
I think so. Well, I feel like you start getting into. I feel like those first two, I was just like, whoa. And then after that, it started to get pretty normal. So like people will roll up to the studio and like then I'm like, oh, crazy. And then I'm like, this is just normal. And then you realize you just meet them, they're just normal people. Um, yeah, I feel like finally realizing that they're just normal people that eat breakfast in the morning
I like
is
that.
great.
I think that's the best way. Like to. So oddly enough, I came up with. I didn't even come up with the question. That question was actually like shown to me. I think it was in one of my psychology classes.
Uh,
They were like, if you're really nervous or if you're really scared about an interview or a conversation or meeting someone new, or you just a little bit anxious about what's gonna come of it, just start up a simple conversation. Just ask what, instead of like the whole how's the weather, like that's very like close ended. You could just say, oh, it's good, and then that's it.
yeah.
Whereas like the whole breakfast thing, like I didn't know you like banana and crunchy peanut butter, and we're kind of one and the same with cooking. It's just like we love cooking for other people, but for ourselves it's just like, I could eat the bare minimum, it's okay,
Yeah, for sure. Uh-huh.
but that's crazy. I mean, because it's always nice to hear, and of course, a lot of people are like, "Oh, you're having her name drop," or like she has to like prove or validate. It's not that. It's just being able to recall or recollect your thoughts of like the connections you actually had with people that you thought were kind of out
Mm,
of the circle or out of your bubble,
right.
and you just kind of realize like, oh, they're normal people, like
Right.
as if you
Yeah.
can ask them how their day's going, and they'll actually tell you if they're cool, you know.
Right. Right.
um I learned that a lot by like going to a lot of meet and greets, a lot of concerts and stuff.
Mm,
um but I didn't like the idea of like, oh, like I'd give them my phone so they can take the photos, but I'd literally just want to conversate with the artist and just ask them like, and if it was after concerts, I talk about their performance, and I talk about how they're feeling, if they're good, they look a little bit tired, have they been sleeping, like I actually, oddly enough, I care about the music, don't get me wrong, like the music is the reason I'm there,
yeah.
but I
Of course.
truly care like of like mental health and like physical and how they're feeling. And a lot of
Yeah.
these artists, like people don't understand the idea of like they're touring to come and like see their fans and the people that they're
Mm,
supporting, not only to because they also want to see their supporters, but also that's money, that's their job, but they
mm,
still want to go home, like they
mm,
want to go
mm.
wherever their family's living. And a lot of people forget that, and they think that they're entitled or in their rights to just force them to take a photo or like force them to video, you know what I mean.
Mhm.
um yeah, I don't know, I mean, it's always good to humanize people because that's what they are.
Yeah, I agree. And like, yeah, I'm all about that too, where it's just like, even when you look at yourself, like, if you really think, or if you start distancing yourself from like celebrities or people that you look up to, like, it's important to like understand, who those people are and why they're special to you, but also at the same time, like, know about yourself and know that like that's possible for yourself too. And like if it looks different, you can, again, I'm gonna say another cliche where it's like you can be at that spot, always. Like
Definitely.
that you always have the freedom. And I think um yeah, it's just important for people to understand that, like you're a human being. You can, if you're able body, you can like do anything. Like you have all these things in front of you, so like why not go for it?
I agree. I think a big thing is like, I don't know, it's again also another cliche. Have you heard of the saying of like your network is kind of your net worth?
Wow, that's a good one. No, I've never heard of that.
Yeah, I got
That's
that off
great.
of Instagram quotes,
Damn.
but it's a really big one because, and that's not to say like, oh, you have to stop being friends with like your old friends or the friends that were with you from the beginning. It's more so like it's okay to grow your network, because growing networks it's just connections. You're also going to have friends, but connections and friends and acquaintances and business partners, they're all different. It's all titles for the most part, but it comes down to how you manage the relationship.
Mm.
Like that's just kind of I feel like that's how kind of A&Ring works with just social and business. I wanted to talk about that as well. I remember now is like we were gonna cover how like if you have troubles like actually differentiating the actual social life and business life, and if it's okay if both of them meet.
Mm-hmm.
But what do you think like being an A&R and of course having to build your network and connecting with people and knowing different songwriters and producers and singers and stuff, how does it work socially and then business wise for you?
It's good to it's okay, it's always very healthy to understand your boundaries and anything like within your relationships, and boundaries with yourself too. I think it does get kind of blurry. Work-life balance, I feel like in my 20s and like just having all these privileges underneath me, like I'm able to do like work. I don't have like I'm not married, I don't have kids, so I'm able to just kind of like go off and just really grind and hustle as much as I can during this time because I'm young and like I have the energy. Um, Also, like, hmm, I think too, just me and like how I operate and just being honest with myself. Um, like I'm still learning this too, so I feel like it's always going to be like a learning thing for me.
Of course.
But yeah, especially dealing with like clients, and I've said this before where like I hate saying clients because they're all just like my big brothers and like uncles and big sisters for all the people that I work with, just because I have such a close relationship. For me, I'm just a very all-in person, so like I think when we're talking about like their work, because their work isn't just work. Like it's not a job for them. It's literally their life and
Yeah.
their therapy, um their creativity and everything else in between. Like it's an all encompassing thing for them. And so I kind of try and match that and like empathize and not really empathize or just try and see like this means a lot to them and like I work for them. So if they're all in, I'm all in too. And so um just like that's how I conduct the relationship I have specifically with my clients. And so the relationships I have are very personal and pretty intimate. Also, just because I think like because it's their life and I just kind of like follow their creative flow. Like say like one of my producers is having problems with this girl, and like he's just like, you know what, like we'll have a session or like we'll talk on the phone and like we'll have a therapy session and like he'll just be talking about his relationship, and then all of a sudden he'll just be like, damn, now like I just want to create like these like really vibey, intense, like toxic R&B tracks. And I'm just like, that's great because like there's this artist that's signed to this record label that's looking, and then he'd be like sick, and I'm like, great.
That's
So it's like
awesome.
that's kind of like I feel like that's a good example of like the marriage between the relationship and the emotional aspect with the creative and it being part of my job, where it's like I feel like I always like come with like hands like willing to receive any like beats that they have or like hooks or demos that they have. Like as a publisher, obviously an A&R and a record label looks pretty different, but as a publisher I'm like, oh my gosh, like what have you been working on? Like I'm a fan of every single person that I work with. And so I'm just always like, what are you working on? Like, how are you? How's your head? I'm all about mental health as well. So I'm never just like pressing them to do one thing if they don't want to do it. And if they're not creatively in the headspace for it, then like I can't force them. That just makes no sense. Then there's no art. And then it's just not going to be a good song or not going to be a good, track. So I feel like that kind of gets that's where the lines blur a little bit for me, where it's like I just thrive off of having a very personal relationship with the people that I work with. And, that extends to my coworkers as well. Like our philosophy in our workplace is just rooted in love the way that we work. We're always just like, there to have I don't know, deep conversations with. And if something's bothering someone, like the other day, like yesterday, for example, like I was going through a tough time, and then my coworker just immediately called me and was just like, "Hey, like, do you want to talk about it?" So like even there too, like the boundaries are like we see each other just as not coworkers or not just clients and like a publisher. We see each other as just like human beings, and I feel like that's the most important thing. And I feel like that's, in my opinion, I think that's the most sustainable and the best for human beings, because I feel like all human beings are emotional beings.
I
A
agree.
lot of people will say otherwise, but I really think that we react emotionally. Just that's our innate nature. Whether that looks like, I mean, it could, it's more prevalent in other people than others, but um, so
Definitely,
yeah.
I agree. I cry almost every week. I'm not gonna lie.
Oh my God, yes.
Yeah,
No, that's great.
I see something very touching, like in a show, or like I hear a certain lyric or a certain song. Maybe it's a beat, an instrumental.
Yeah.
I could feel it. That's the only way that I can truly put it. Like, don't get me wrong, tone, color,
Mm-hmm.
expression, just tone inflections in music, everything
Oh,
technically is calculated because it is running through a bunch of different producers, A&Rs, and all these levels in the hierarchy of the music industry. But at the end of the day, the artist can put out whatever technically they want
mm-hmm.
and has the ability to like express themselves to their potential. You know what I mean? So if,
Right.
like you said, if they want to make a toxic R&B song like Kaylani with literally toxic, like
Yeah,
it's do your
exactly.
thing, because that album was amazing.
Mm,
It was great. I mean,
so great.
and I think I want to agree with you, and I want to say that we are emotional human beings sometimes, because I currently still work in retail. So the idea of like a lot of people come in very
Mm-hmm.
angry, and they're still going through COVID, they're older, they're yelling, and I get it, but I also tell them and I confront them in the most professional way possible, and I let them know, hey, you're getting a little bit too emotional, you're starting to feel a little bit too personal, and you really don't know me, unfortunately. But if you're respectful, and if you even have to stay quiet and it's okay to be quiet, I can help you solve your issue with what you're going through without you having to like feel bad after you leave because you were being disrespectful. And
Right.
they sometimes, some people take it the right way, sometimes they stay angry but they still stay quiet. That's the thing.
Mm,
And I
mm-hmm.
think a big thing is like, even for the people listening that aren't, that don't want to be in A&R or don't want to be in the creative industry, another big thing that you should walk away with this from this conversation is like, we're all human. We all feel emotions, we all feel what you feel. The good ones, for the most part, the good humans have that sense of empathy. um but it's the idea like everyone's human. So that person at McDonald's that you want to try to make a prank on or like TikTok about or like grab the ice cream the wrong way, and like you don't know what they're going through the entire day, and that can push them past the edge.
Yeah,
You
I
know?
agree with that fully. Yeah, I always try and think about that as well.
Yeah, I think that's a big thing. And again, like take what I said with like she said with a grain of salt, because you don't know where it's gonna take you. But just saying someone thank you, or like I appreciate that, or like have a great day. Like every person that I have, like oddly enough, I thought it was just normal, but then working in retail, I've noticed that no one tells the other, like the actual customer or even like the associate, like have a great day or like enjoy your day. Or I don't know if they're scared of putting themselves out there like that.
Mm,
But even that, like that you don't know if that'll make someone's day. You really don't,
right.
um so it's big. And then a lot of opportunities come from just creating a simple conversation.
I
And
agree.
that, I mean, clearly, because look at where you're at, and that came from like a simple phone call.
Mm, that's
um
true.
but with that being said, I wanted to talk about the opportunities and resources. You were talking to me, I think it was a week or two ago, about the BLM movement, and like how you guys are trying to support uh people of color,
Mm-hmm.
and trying to connect them with the music industry by giving them opportunities. And I wanted to give you the floor a little bit, just talk about it.
Mm. Um, yeah, so I mean, like in a bigger way, we've allocated 100K as a company, as Pulse, to a specific organization that supports Black arts. So on the grand scale, we did that with as a company. And then I'm a huge fan of doing the little things and kind of the groundwork. And I feel like, you know, growing and nurturing those little things really grow into something really grand. And that's always like a long-term investment thing. And so we really start with the interns on that. And so um, me and LB, we work on the internship program. And I think Ashley Calhoun brought this up and was saying how like we should be reaching out to like the HBCUs and um, like all the Cal States as well, because like we're such a small company, like we only like pretty much we base it off of word of mouth or like our alma maters of like whoever works there. So like that's why we're already connected with like Syracuse, who has a music business program, and like Belmont, who has a music business program, and like USC and UCLA. And like that was usually the pool that we would get, we would pull from, which, you know, again, is really small. And like we're still a really small company, so it's very difficult to find interns. But yeah, so Ashley made it a point in saying like we should just be like we should take advantage too of with COVID. Again, like I was saying, it's so easy to connect with everyone because it's all remote. So this is the first time in all of Pulse history. Well, that really makes it sound very epic, but this is the first time in Pulse history that we are opening it up to people out of state. And so we've reached out to a couple HBCUs on the East Coast, and we've finally hired a young student from Spelman, and oh wait, no, sorry, it's Tennessee State University. I'm so sorry.
You're good.
So he's going to be joining us this semester, which I'm very excited about, just because, yeah, like we've just expanded our pool, and with COVID, he's able to just work remotely for us. So I'm really excited about that. And yeah, I was also thinking too, we were talking about this as well, where um, again, I'm all about letting people know that it is possible. Doesn't matter where you're from or who you are and like who you think that you are. You're able to just do and reach your goals and your dreams, whatever. Very cliche, but it's
Yeah.
very important for everyone to know because there's a
Yeah.
lot of freedom in that. Um, and so with a lot with like the Cal States, which I totally understand because I went to one, but I feel like the drop off between the USC and the UCLA and then the Cal States and the HBCUs is like when they see the description of an internship. Again, this is kind of overgeneralizing, but I feel like this is what happens because this is what happened to me. When I see the description of the internship, like I just kind of, if I like go down the qualifications and if I don't meet one, then I just count myself out and I don't even apply. Versus like a lot of people from these other like bigger universities that have a lot of different resources, I feel like are kind of like trained to understand that like even if you don't fit that, just apply anyways. Versus
Yep.
like, you know, there's some like at Cal State Long Beach, like there was never really that mentality that we had. It was just, I don't know, it just got lost and I was never really told that or never realized that. Um, so yeah, I feel like maybe a lot of people counted themselves out. So I would have to constantly reach out and follow up and be like, hi, did you make sure that your students know that you're supposed to apply here? And like that we're very open and like making sure that they knew that we were really interested in creating like this partnership almost in the future, to like maybe even do like future seminars and like whether that's remotely or even like us, you know, traveling out there and just like talking about it. Um,
That'd be awesome.
yeah, so it's been great. It's been opening up a lot of great ideas for us too, um, and like just really keeping us in check,
That's
you know,
awesome. I mean,
about the pool of interns because you know it's all about yeah, it's pretty shocking the difference of resumes from like a Cal State and like USC. It's crazy. Like it's I was like, whoa, this is intense.
I feel like because they have probably more like resources, like you said
It's definitely a
previously.
lot, yeah, it's a lot of resources that are given and like um yeah, and I feel like there's just this weird mentality of counting yourself out before you're playing the game. Like it's just
The
yeah,
idea
it's
of
very
it being
interesting.
too good to be true.
Yeah, and like it's just very easy to be like, "Oh no." Like Like I don't qualify, so I'm
I
just gonna
wanted
look for
to
the next thing.
I wanted to ask you, just because we're talking about qualifications and you're already having, an intern or a student that's going to be joining the company. Do you know by any chance what are the duties, that way, like the people that are listening, maybe they're like, I don't know if that's really me. Do you know what they would actually be doing if they were brought
Oh
onto the
yeah.
team?
Oh yeah. So at Pulse, our interns are heavily involved in the A&R research aspect. So we have them check charts, and it's really like not it's not that complicated. It's like you really don't need any qualifications other than the fact like if you love music and if you're like up with the current times, and if you have good taste and if your taste kind of align with ours, then it just makes sense. But like in terms of like hard skills, there's never really anything that we're looking for specifically. But anyways, so our interns are heavily involved in the A&R research. So they're checking charts every single day, and looking at this one, what's trending, what's going up, what's going down, who's trending on TikTok, stuff like that. And like also they're able to pitch like how we normally pitch as A&Rs to us, and just kind of show them like this is who I've either found from the research or who I've just been listening into and like who I really believe with or believe in. And so then they're able to just like pitch to us, and then when we're like, dude, this is really dope, who have they been working with, can we find out more information, they'll come in with management info. And then let's say like I pick up someone that one of our interns put in front of me, and I'm like, oh my god, this is like the dopest artist, even though they have like less than 1,000 plays on this song. Like I feel like our producers would have so many tracks for this person. And so then I'll hit up the management info that the intern grabbed for me, and then I'll loop them onto the email, and then we'll have a meeting, and then the intern will kind of see like how the flow is when we're like starting to court someone, or like when we're starting to get into conversation about like linking our people with theirs or all that stuff, and like seeing how we connect the dots there. So yeah, that's actually a really great and fun part of the internship. We actually this past internship or this past semester with our interns, we actually had an idea that came from one intern that linked with on another idea that came from another intern, and that just like happened, like they all happened within different meetings, like pitch meetings, but it
That's
just like
interesting.
it all happened. Yeah, and I was like, wow, this truly came from just the interns, which is insane. I was like, you guys are all A&Rs already, by the way. I feel like, yeah, A&R just sounds really fancy, but it really just is not. So yeah, that's something that we focus on at Pulse for interns.
That's amazing. I mean, just the and so you said it's only for the people outside of Los Angeles, or could people in LA or California also apply for it, or is it different?
Yeah, so we opened it up to like our normal pools of people. Like we talked to like Northeastern as well, because they have a program where they not ship, they send their students to LA, to do like this like Syracuse does the same thing as well, where they'll have their students travel to LA for a semester, and they'll like be heavily involved in internships. And so, I mean, with that now with COVID, they don't do that anymore, and so everyone's just working remotely. But yeah, we're doing the same thing as we did before, and just adding in like another pool of applicants from like HBCUs and Cal States.
That's awesome. I oddly enough, I looked at the numbers and I get a little bit of listeners, but like I said, oddly enough, I've been having people from North Carolina and like Texas and I think Virginia at one point, like listeners. Even if it's like one or two, it's just like, if you guys are listening and you guys love music, I don't see, and if you're going to school and you like reach out. I actually wanted to, and just to get your perspective and to see if I'm okay with saying this, with the idea of it, like it being too good to be true. I think it's also, when you're reaching out and you're applying, you think that, oh, they're just going to give me a shot for free. Like, that's it. Like, it's just like, no, well, of course, I don't know if it is paid or unpaid. I'm pretty sure it's unpaid for the most part. But aside from that, you're getting experience. They're getting the ability to tap in with a community of, musicians or artists that are in your area. They brought in their name. You brought in your experience. It's like nothing is technically free in this world, but there's good deals.
Mm-hmm.
There's always good deals and good opportunities that come from just trying, give it a shot. You never know where it's going to land you.
Yes, please. And then, yeah, for anyone listening, I feel so weird saying that. Please reach out if need be. Very much into helping out wherever I can. It's really important for people to know that there is an opportunity out there for you. It's really easy to get, promise. It looks really hard, but it's pretty easy. Yeah, that's all I want to say.
That's awesome. No, that's perfect, because then who knows? You might be the next person to walk in or see saying hi to Kaylani. I don't know. You know, like you really don't know where you're gonna end up. Like, if you don't mind me asking, when was the first time you started working at Pulse? If you don't mind me asking.
January of 2019.
Did you think now that you would be in the position you were in back then? I think I said that incorrectly. Opposite way. Did you think back then you would know that you would be in this position now?
Oh, like starting out as receptionist?
Yeah.
Yeah, I had like a thought. Just because, like I said before, receptionist is usually like a temporary thing for us. It's kind of like almost like purgatory, where it's just like you either go one way or the other.
I like that.
Yeah. So yeah, I kind of knew. I mean, I definitely wasn't sure if like publishing was going to be it for me, but I like had an inkling that I'd be somewhere like this.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I think we covered a lot.
We did.
Yeah, I think you did great. I'm gonna end it here just so we can end it on a high note. I just want to say thank you for coming onto the podcast and sharing as much information, knowledge, and wisdom as you have. I appreciate it.
Oh, well, thanks for honestly just so honored. Again, hopefully I spoke some truth or knowledge to someone.
Yeah.
If it helps for one person, then that's enough for me. But yeah, definitely honored to be here and to be asked questions.
Of course.
By you.
Of course, yeah, no worries. Before I let you go, I wanted to give you the space, to be able to advertise or like, talk about anything that you want to talk about, social medias, maybe people want to link with you, artists, anyone out there,
Oh God, you mentioned this before, and I was just like, no, I'll do it on the fly, and I was like acting all cool about it, and now the time has come, and I like haven't really thought about it. Shout out to everyone trying to get somewhere with big dreams.
You're good.
God.
You can shout out Pulse. You can shout out yourself.
Shout out Pulse employing me and believing in whoever I am or will be. Shout out to my parents and my roommates and my roommate's dog Kevin. Yeah, shout out to Alcharles, Tasteful Sounds.
Thank you.
Day one, honestly. You and your wife now, that's amazing. And that's it for me. I'm gonna stop talking.
Alrighty. Well, thank you, and we'll see you on the next one.
Awesome.
I hope you enjoyed this episode. If you want to reach out to me and let me know what you think, make sure to follow us on Instagram at The Unspoken Essentials. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts, we'd appreciate a review. And if you're listening to us on any other platforms, make sure to share us with your friends who maybe want to learn about being an A&R for a music publishing company. Ultimately, have a great day, and we'll catch you on the next one.